I'm Duke, and I'm Lola, and we're Bossanova Life.
That was my line.
Well, it was actually both your lines.
So I'm excited to introduce Ray from Tiki with Ray.
Aloha.
Aloha. We get the pleasure of interviewing you, sir. You get to go around and interview everybody else.
I can't wait.
Yeah, we are at Tiki Kon 2019.
Yes.
This is our third time at Tiki Kon.
Yes.
And the reason we're at Tiki Kon is because of Ray right here.
Really? How's that?
You invited us the first year and said, hey, I'll get you guys press passes. And we're like, we will totally do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Ray has made sure that he's doing what he can to promote the Tiki scene in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Supporting Tiki Kon, and we're happy to be part of that
This
in any little
coffee
way
is
we can.
delicious.
Yeah, I need a little pick-me-up myself.
So we don't do a lot of interview videos. So we're going to be doing more going down the road. But the reason we want to introduce you to Ray is because Ray is a guy who travels the United States, goes to
Literally.
home tiki bars, regular tiki bars, searches them out everywhere from Kansas City to LA and New York. He finds them, he gets it done, he makes blogs about it. He started off with blogs. I think that's how you started.
Yep.
And he's got his own YouTube channel with about 120 videos now or something in that
No,
range.
just a little over 100.
A little over 100, okay. Where he interviews people about tiki mugs all the way to just things about the tiki scene. So some of the things we're going to talk about today are things that we're all incredibly familiar with and know a lot about. But what we really want to get into is things that maybe you, the average Bossanova Life viewer, doesn't know.
Yeah.
So, Ray, the first question I want to ask this guy is, what is tiki to you? And that's a very loaded question, but we'll try to keep it as... Generally, what is tiki?
Well, what I'm starting...
And he has a 20-minute video on the subject. We want to get it down to like...
every one of my videos is answering that question in different things.
But for the layman.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like tiki, it's a whole thing. It's a whole package. Like how I got into tiki is through tiki bars. But what I loved about tiki bars was you walk into this environment that's unlike anything you've seen before. You step through the doors of the bar and you're like, wow, I'm not, and then fill in whatever city you are.
Your mouth drops open.
Yeah, your mouth drops open. You're like, wow, this is cool. I don't want to leave here. And then you get the drinks. You get a Mai Tai or a zombie that has like 2-3 shots of rum in it, and now you're half drunk, and now you really, really love it. And when I went to my first bar back in 2006, it was Hula Hula, which is in Seattle.
Oh, you went? Oh, yeah, the Hula Hula was.
It was, and that was it. And then from there, it really negated like any other type of bar for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to go to tiki bars because what's the point of just going somewhere and like, here's my rum and coke,
So
you want the experience.
I want to experience.
So you like the dark mystery of the tiki bar, the whole environment behind it. At what point did you start getting into the vintage culture behind tiki?
Well, here's the thing. To me, it was always kind of there. And this is what I'm starting to realize when it comes to me and with a lot of other people. I think the seeds are planted when you're a kid.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Oh, yeah. Especially us X-Gens. I mean, that's there.
There's a lot of mystery in like the Saturday morning cartoons and
Johnny
crazy
Quest.
Well, it's interesting. Like, they're actually my friends Tom and Jeannie. They were talking about it. Like, Johnny Quest was one of their influences. Scooby Doo.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But for me, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and there was an amusement park close to where I live. It was called Knoebels Grove, and it was a haunted house. Mm-hmm. And it was a haunted house ride where you get in the car and it kind of goes around. And it was like a full-on haunted house, and you're going through all these like creepy things. And at the end of this ride, there was like this like jungle room that you go in, where it was like waterfalls, and they had like a leopard that jumps out at you.
Where was this at?
Knoebels Grove, Pennsylvania, kind of like where I lived. And this like headhunter guy would come up,
Yeah.
and it was
It's like Cedar Point,
kind of,
yeah.
And it was like all in fluorescent lighting. It was dark. And I just remember, like, as a kid, like, not being afraid of it, but I'm like, God, this is really, really cool. Mm-hmm. So when I went to Hula Hula the first time, it reminded me of that ride.
Yeah.
And then, like, that's kind of like where everything kind of went. A lot of people that get into tiki that live here, they got into it because of Disney.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, like, I know it's not tiki, but Pirates of the Caribbean have that same feel. Like, it's mystery, it's dark, and the whole time you're not quite sure what's happening. You have little vignettes.
Super cool. I shock people. Unfortunately, I'm not a huge Disney fan, but on my trips to Disney, what I always tell people is like, well, I'm not really into Disney, but I would, like, the last time I went there when I was 16, I went through the Pirates of the Caribbean 7 times in a row, and I went on a Jungle Cruise 5 times in a row, and then I went and got on that tram that goes all the way around it, where you're looking on that was cool to me. Like, the Star Tours was like, and it had Michael Jackson had his little ride thing going on. I'm like, I'm not into that. And so later on, I learned that is Disney. That's the Disney. So I was like never really into the rest of it. But yeah, that's the Jungle Cruise was amazing.
One thing,
the hippos come out and attack your boat.
So I mean, what you guys know, but maybe your audience doesn't know, is like Tiki was at its prime, like in the mid-century,
in the 50s and 60s. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so tied to that was all the mid-century that kind of comes with it. So a lot of Tiki furniture that you want to call, just to call it that, was furniture that was made during the mid-century.
Yeah.
So immediately it has a mid-century feel to it.
Yeah.
And even before I knew what Tiki was, I had an interest and a love for mid-century, well, essentially everything.
Yeah.
Like, growing up where I grew up not close to my aunts and uncles, but my great aunts and uncles, which is essentially like my grandparents' brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And they all had the houses that were furnished, like things stopped. They stopped buying furniture in like 1968.
I love that.
So like, but it was like
I got all the browns and greens.
yeah, it was like 1978, and I'm like a kid going to my great aunts and uncles' houses, and they have all this like mid-century furniture.
Yeah. Like the sunken living rooms and like.
Well, yeah, they weren't that cool.
I would kill for a second living room.
But but they had like the old furniture. They had like the Formica kitchen table and all that other stuff. And as a kid, going to my aunts and uncles' places, I love that.
Yeah.
And again, that sparked. So like when I started to get older, I had a love for mid-century things because that's what I kind of grew up with. Well, my grandparents grew up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we did by osmosis. I agreed. That was not what was being put out in the time period that I was growing up. But the family, the friends, they had purchased their decorations a decade or two before.
It cracks me up every now and then. It seems like lately I've been getting this comment more often. People are like, well, Tiki, isn't that where people just dress up like Fred Flintstone? And I'm all like, and I go, what's hilarious about it is that the Flintstones were like the Simpsons of their time. They were making fun of what was popular at that time.
Yep.
And so wearing fezzes where they're doing the water bubble thing, they were making fun of guys in the fraternal orders wearing fezzes and dressing up. That's what they were doing. They were mocking it. They were literally the Simpsons of the 60s and 70s. And so that's what they were doing. That's what was popular.
I really, now that we're talking about this, I'm really starting to think that like when it comes to Tiki, it goes beyond like a celebration of like the exotic, but I think it is a celebration of mid-century. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, Tiki has grown and progressed from that. But to me, the thing that I love, like when you talk about the different types of Tiki bars, I like the old bars.
Oh yeah,
like a place like the Alibi, like a place is 1947. You go in there, and
you know that Forbidden Island is one of my favorites in Alabama.
One of my favorites too.
But it's that's that '90s revival. But what I love about it is that they nail the vintage vibe.
Yeah.
On it. So even though it's a retro bar, it nails a vintage vibe. Where some of the newer ones, which I love, I like them.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Sure.
A little sushi is great with it, or Hawaiian is great. But yeah, the Alibi. Oh my God. That's just amazing to this day.
The crazy thing about Forbidden Island is Forbidden Island was built in 2006, and a lot of people kind of consider that was kind of like the planting the flag of like, okay, this is sort of the unofficial start of the third wave of Tiki.
Yeah.
And you're right, because there are other places that are really elaborate. Like I went to Zombie Village in San Francisco, and it's like, wow. I mean, it's like overwhelming, or like Smuggler's Cove. Yeah. I mean, the place.
Or the Golden Tiki is another one that's like just over the top.
That's over the top, but at the end of the day, you know what I like? I like old school tiki bars.
Yeah.
I like a bar.
That's why
I like a bar that you walk in there and you'd be like, man, this seems like it's been around forever.
I think Frankie's is
And you
2005,
feel like-
and that's a classic.
Yeah.
And interesting, it's the same room. Like I've been
yeah.
to.
It's
Essentially,
it's
the same.
identical to Forbidden Island.
Yeah, it's the same bar. It's a rectangle with a long.
You have a little bit of a crazy displacement. We first walked into Frankie's and we're like, wait a second, we've been here before. But we had never been here before.
So with that in mind, we know that's what Tiki's all about. That's how Tiki got started. Like, what is your favorite kind of Tiki music, or what is Tiki music?
No, but I think
That's a whole nother question too.
Well, I mean, I guess officially at this point in time, you're either talking about exotica or surf music.
Correct. Which for a long time people were like, oh, surf music's not tiki, and I'm like, I dare you to go back in time and not hear surf music being played in the tiki bars back in the day.
I think, yeah, you're absolutely right.
They weren't playing Jan and Dean, but they were playing, Link Ray and stuff like that.
I have a feeling if you were to go to like any of these bars, like in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they were probably playing some kind of music, but it definitely wasn't. Just like you said, Jan and Dean. Yeah, and a lot of times,
they played Bossanova back in those days.
I'm sure
they had Bossanova Life. That was, they would play like a lot of like Latin music even back in the vintage bars.
But you know what's interesting? Guys are in suit and ties. Mm-hmm. Like it was a very, very formal place. It ain't like people were wearing like aloha shirts and stuff
flip flops.
like that. No.
We like our flip flops in Oregon.
So. I honestly think, and I actually wrote about this in my
parts of the country.
Actually, I wrote about this in my blog, where I honestly think like this is the goal. The third wave, just right now, is kind of the golden age of tiki because we've actually taken things up to a whole completely different level. Like for example, like right now we're at Tiki Kon. I mean, how many? I think there's like 800 people showed up for this thing or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like bands playing. There's like artists coming out. Well, there's a marketplace that was right over there.
Amazing.
People making stuff right now.
Yes. They're creating new stuff to put into the whole history of tiki. Like this stuff that people are going to be collecting.
First wave of tiki, which is definitely what everyone calls the golden wave of tiki, whatever, which really lasted from what, the
40s,
late 30s, early 40s to like 66, 60.
Yeah, by pretty much the late 60s or
something like that, right? But also you had with that, it was there's a little bit of, I dare say, like McDonald's, Walmart tiki going on back at that point because it was so popular and so mainstream that they were just cranking out the stuff. So that's where you can go in the stores and just find things are like treasure craft stuff that's just like made with like plaster or whatever else. And it's cool.
I'll be honest.
Love me some treasure craft.
Well, Duke. I mean, the interesting thing is like my second tiki bar I ever went to was a Trader Vic's that opened up in Bellevue, Washington, which is right across the street from like right away, like not too far away from Seattle. And I remember like going there and being like, oh, this is okay, but this is kind of like a restaurant.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It wasn't that cool. I mean, but then I've seen like other Trader Vic's, like the one in Emeryville, that you're like, oh wow, this is like a full-on palace.
Yeah.
So you're right. I think a lot of the chains were exactly that eventually. And once you have a chain, then everything is like, well, how can we make things cheaper? How can we essentially dumb things down?
Well,
that's how you see some of those old tiki mugs, which are adorable and great. Like modern tiki mugs, I mean, they're going to levels that are just indescribable.
Oh my God! I mean, you're talking
the
about
amount of artwork and talent going into them is next level.
I didn't realize like for a lot of these mugs that we're talking like Ven Tiki or Monk Tiki or even like Wendy Savola. Like I was at Wendy Savola's place. She literally makes mugs like in her living room, and she's like hand painting each one.
Great video, by the way, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Hey Wendy, if you're watching this.
They're beautiful. We're fans.
But like, if you're talking about people that are like hand painting each mug, they weren't doing that back then. Back then, they had all these mugs. They were shipped off to China. They were glazed one color, and
they're all like brown or green, maybe.
Yeah,
they're like one color.
There's a couple of them that are white.
Yeah.
I mean, like even like the coolest. I've got one from like the late 30s, early 40s of the big skull mug from.
Trader Vic's.
Trader Vic's, yeah. I mean, it's worth like $45 now. It's a pretty cool mug.
Yeah.
But a modern mug, you could drop $200, $300 for, and they're going to have put 10 times the amount of work into that mug, and they make 100 of them, and then they break that mold, and they're on to the next one.
Yeah, because really, honestly, what it has done is it's made your collectors much more knowledgeable, because as a collector now, you want to know who created it, you want to know how many there are out in the world. So, my question, so Duke asked, like, where you see your channel going next, but what do you have coming up this season, like 2019? What's going on with Ray?
Well, I started to do my live show.
We love your live show. We haven't been to a live one, but
we haven't been to a live one. We've watched the videos of the live ones, though.
Yes.
Which is just as good, right?
Well, well, I'll tell you what. It's that's a whole other engine. Because it's one thing to like video to record like in someone's bar, and you can edit. And you're just playing off the person.
Yeah.
But when you're doing the show live in front of an audience, you got to play more off to the audience that's out in front of you.
paying attention to their reactions, what they want to listen to, their engagement.
It's a little bit like Conan O'Brien traveling.
Yeah.
A little bit. But I thought about, like, you talk about like making money and stuff like that, and I don't make money doing like the blog or like the YouTube show. Sure, I'd like to make a couple bucks. So I thought about, and it's like I don't want to like sell merchandise because I don't want that to be my gauge. It's like, ooh, I sold all these shirts this month. It's been a great month. I don't want it to be based on that. But I thought about, like, well, how can I make money? How can I make some bucks? And I thought, well, if I do the live show, at this point in the game, what I'll do is I'll pass a hat around.
Yeah.
So that way, usually the venue can still do what they want to do. They don't have to charge admission. We don't have to worry about ticket prices.
No.
And in the middle of the show, pass a hat around, and people can throw in what they want. If they don't want to throw in anything, that's fine too.
Yeah.
And then that way, I can walk out of there with a couple bucks. So that's what I'm doing.
You're like a church leader.
Yeah, I'm like a church leader.
The cult of Tiki.
The church, that's the cult of Tiki. But I want to do more of those shows.
If you give us money today, we can build a Tiki house tomorrow.
I believe.
Oh my God, blasphemy.
All of a sudden, 2 years from now,
Tiki blasphemy.
I'm wearing a suit, but I have like the cross that's like this is a cross.
Like a Tiki head cross.
No, but there'll always be, every week I put out a blog post.
Mm-hmm.
Every week I do a video. And here's the thing, what I love about doing the blog is I do a lot of interviews for the blog. And it's great because I can essentially do a post on anyone, anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, as long as I can send you some questions, you can send me back your answers, and you send me some pictures. We got a post. So that way I'm able to highlight and show the rest of the world, hey, check out this guy here, check out this woman over here.
Yeah.
Even though they're like even if they're in like Australia or something like that.
Yeah.
To help promote, because that's the reason why I wanted to do my blog to begin with, is to promote Tiki. I think this stuff is cool. I want to show everyone else, like, hey, don't you think this is cool too?
Yeah.
The videos are more like me hanging out with my friends talking about Tiki.
Yeah.
And it's very kind of limited to like where I'm at. So you do what you can.
Yeah.
So, but one video a week, one post every week.
You do such a great job, and you put out so much. When we've gone to a couple different tiki bars, like, I enjoy your blogs because they're written well and they're fun to read. But especially if you're kind of like, you want to know what's out there, it's good. Sometimes we'll be like, we're in Las Vegas, let's take a little look or whatever. We pick a city, we're going there.
More of his blogs than his videos for
yes.
that.
Oh,
the blogs are
because you could look at
informational, but they're
gives just someone's
entertaining.
rating, but I want to like see the pictures and
and I make a point in my blogs to have a lot of pictures. So seriously, and there's a pro tip for your viewers out there. If do a Google search, type in Tiki with Ray, and type in like the city you want to go to, and then like all my posts will usually come up.
Yeah. It's super cool.
And here's the
tiki hunt.
And here's the thing, like I try not to be negative. Because I don't want to be negative at all, and I don't want to talk shit about any particular bar. So the reality is if I haven't talked about the bar, and I've been to that city,
don't go to the bar.
So if you're wondering, should I go check out this place? It's like, well, have I written about it? Read between the lines.
Well, and you're going to be honest too. You're not going to be like, oh, this was a dark, mysterious tiki bar. If you've gone to a place that maybe it's a fun place to go and it's got some tiki stuff to it.
It's the same way with us. I mean, we do videos on events, peoples, and places. And believe it or not, there's been many events and people and places have invited us to come and do videos, and we're like, that's not what we do. We're trying to do authentic mid-century stuff, and that is whatever. So we just don't do it. I'm not going to do a negative thing about it. I'm just not going to do it at all. I'm just not going to go.
I think Ray
I only got so much energy in my life, man.
I'm the same way. I get it. My dad told me best. He goes, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. And here's another thing too. It's like I don't want to make any enemies or anything like that.
No.
I don't want to like go and write a blog post and be like, don't go to this bar. It sucks. I don't want to make enemies with those people.
Yeah. Well, especially since there's so many good ones. Why would you need to?
I'm just working by myself.
There's so many good ones. Why would you need to go to a bad one and make up something? So
the good news is there's no bad ones in Oregon or Washington.
Oh, there is.
They're all good.
Oh yeah, there is.
Uh-oh.
We just don't talk about those.
Yeah, they don't
Like I
exist
just
in our
said, there's
world.
no bad ones. They're all good.
They don't exist in our world.
Yes.
So, just another question, real quick. What you work with Tiki Kon? You have your own stuff going on. Do you have any other events that you have your feelers out onto trying to help promote, or that you're working with?
I really don't get out to a lot of the events.
Well, you were just on a Tiki cruise.
Well, that's just like a one-day thing. But I would love to go to Tiki Oasis. I'd love to go to Hukilau.
Hukilau sounds amazing.
But the thing is, it's just like
Hook us up.
I wish, but it's just like even if you can get hooked up with like a free pass to go. You still got to pay for the hotel. You still got to fly. You still got to get the time off.
Well, that's why, because what you
A lot of people
do.
don't understand that about the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're giving you free passes. I'm like, those things cost $100 each. Like, what about the room and the air flight and the food and the drinks?
Yeah, but I do think that what you're doing as far as passing the hat around and things like that are good, because you spend a lot of time of your own time and effort doing this without getting anything back. Could you do it as a labor of love?
Well,
But you need to get something back so that you can keep doing what you're doing.
well, my buddy Jason Craig says it best. He said it best. He goes, I don't get paid, but I get compensated.
Yes.
And I think that's the best way to say it.
In other words, Ray gets paid in booze. Maybe not just booze, but.
Booze,
A lot of booze.
and tiki love.
And
a,
tiki
lot,
love.
a lot of rum.
A lot of rum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Compensated.
It's the best kind of compensation.
All right, man.
No, money's better.
Okay,
What?
never mind. Save the booze.
Money's
Send
way
money.
better than rum.
Send money.
Because then I could buy rum
You
with
can
it.
buy rum with money.
And
but-
pay my rent.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
always a pleasure.
Oh, always a pleasure.
And check out our buddy Tiki with Ray on YouTube and his blog. We'll put some links on there.
Yep.
Mahala!
Mahala!
And all that
Sorry.
other crap.
All that other Well, thank you for watching our video. Do you like classic cars and rockabilly?
What about pinup and burlesque?
What about those things? How about tiki culture and mid-century modern?
Atomic culture.
All of those things can be yours. Just click like and subscribe right there. Do it. Right there.